Focus. Ideate, innovate, enable.
Welcome to the India Risk Management Awards series. The FICCI Pinkerton India Risk Survey 2015 puts information and cyber security as a number 2 risk after corruption, bribery and corporate frauds. And it has moved up 3 positions from 2014 survey. So how can CEOs build a very strong internal system that protects them from cyber crimes? And well, it is not only organizations, but even the common man is faced with threats like credit card frauds or leakage of personal information through hacking of emails or social websites. So what is the kind of risk defense systems we need to build within organizations, as well as how can our laws protect us from such threats? Joining me to discuss this is Sanjay Datta, Chief Underwriting and Claim, ICICI Lombard, Mrityunjay Kapoor, Head of Risk Consulting, KPMG, and joining us also is Javed Amit, Commissioner of Mumbai Police. Mrityunjay, if I can start with you, the government today is also well aware of the cyber attacks, because we just had in the winter session of Parliament that they announced 54,483 cases of phishing, spam and malicious code. And also your KPMG report says that 72% of companies face a cyber attack today. So how is it really looked at as a serious threat by organizations?
See, I think, and I'll just share some statistics. We did a global CEO survey, and that survey indicated that 50% of the CEOs actually felt that their companies were underprepared as far as dealing with cyber risks work. If I quote the survey that we came out with on cybercrime, over 90% of the respondents actually say it's the top threat. So really it has emerged to be one of the biggest threats that the corporate world is facing, not only in India but across the world. Are we prepared to handle it? I think not really, considering the infrastructure that is there, and more importantly the level of awareness that is there across the employees in companies. The IT departments and people who are dealing with information technology are fairly well aware, and those are the ones who are equipped with a lot of tools to handle it. But as you move to other departments, say finance, administration, HR, and some of the other key support functions, that is where we see a lot of targeting of attacks and catching people unaware. So I think the industry as a whole is gearing up. The first step really is to build awareness as to what really is cybercrime, or what is the imperative behind cyber security, and then how do the employees respond to an incident, or how do employees actually deal or behave in a particular manner to prevent some of these attacks from happening.
Okay, Sanjay, what has your experience been when you talk to companies? What is the kind of cyber crimes that today they are faced with?
The background is that we are looking at a society which is moving increasingly digital.
Yes.
See, fraud has always been present in human society.
Yes.
The issue with cyber with fraud in cyberspace is the scale and the magnitude and the kind of extent it can attack. Any system is multiplied a million times over, actually. So, and that's where I think the key risk which is emerging out of any company is quite substantial. And it's, I would agree with Mrityunjay. There is obviously this lack of awareness across functions, but even within the IT space, there's a lot of work which needs to be done to understand, to keep ahead of the classical cop and the thief kind of chase. Sometimes they'll be ahead, and the other parts of society would not understand how far they're ahead. So for us to be vigilant, for us to be to be aware of the magnitude of the kind of risk which is being faced by all kinds, even in our individual lives as well as corporates. That's something which needs to be, in a sense, hugely researched and well understood. That's the first kind of reaction which is coming through. After you've understood and the kind of risks which we are facing because of that, the kind of scale and the magnitude, we then need to look at risk mitigation tools. Could be transfer, could be prevention, could be kind of awareness campaigns which you need to build for people not to easily give their password or things like that.
Mr. Ahmed, thank you for joining us. Okay, today, the common man is being affected. His credibility, his reputation is affected by a lot of cyber crimes like website spoofing or defacement. Does the police force have a system where they can, respond to these crimes and also, solve these crimes for the common man?
So, what you're talking about are crimes committed in the cyber world. And these and other related ones, including frauds or online frauds, cyber stalking, cyber related other crimes, we have a dedicated police station in Mumbai city for cyber crimes, the cyber crime police station. We have a cyber cell for it. As a matter of fact, over the years we have been trying to upscale and bring up the knowledge and skill base to the level that is required, and it's an ongoing process. So yes, what I would say is that yes, we have a mechanism which responds to these kind of cyber crimes. We have a mechanism where we have a set of officers and men who deal only with these kind of cases.
Mrityunjay, your KPMG report, it says that is cyber risk management a top priority for the boards, and 72% says no. Why is that? Why is there no seriousness as yet when you know that the cyber attack is a serious affair?
So I think interestingly, when we speak to board members and the C-suite in various companies, what really is happening is that people are so wherever if it's financial services, there is a high degree of awareness. If it is technology or digitized organizations, even telecom, there is a large degree of awareness. However, it is still not gone up to the board agenda as it should be, because I don't think there is an awareness in terms of the magnitude of risk that could be there. Two, I think at some point of time, while we keep hearing of large-scale incidents happening overseas, I think somewhere we possibly are waiting for a big incident to happen to increase the level of awareness or preparedness, or put it right up there at the agenda at the board level. A lot of people will say, listen, I'm a manufacturing organization, I'm an organization which has really great firewalls, etc. Maybe this risk is not applicable to me.
Yeah, but Mrityunjay, even a simple thing, if we can look at it as simple phishing, okay, which a lot of companies face, that may be at the lower end of the cyber crime today, because as crimes get more serious, even that are organizations really trying to attack. Are they aware of the seriousness of it?
Phishing or the man-in-the-middle attack has become so prevalent that is probably led organizations to sit up and take notice of this entire cyber crime or cyber security issue. And with small minor changes here and there with phishing, people have been defrauded of several, right from a few $100,000 to possibly millions of dollars, and it's a very simple thing, and it's something which can be prevented with a fair degree of awareness. So yes, companies are getting aware of it. They do want to talk about it. They want to figure out systems. So there are tools, for examples, to build out resilience. We have a tool which can actually help build resilience as far as the man-in-the-middle attack goes, or the phishing attacks go, and also build awareness in organizations to be just more vigilant when something like this happens, or keep a lookout for things like this.
Like the KPMG report also says that the BFSI sector is the one which faces the most, cyber attacks, and we have seen that in credit card frauds or personal information being leaked. So, is that sector really looking at cybersecurity as a very serious thing?
Yes, that's true. I would agree with that. They're most aware of the risk, and they're the ones, in fact, who've started doing a lot of preventive work, themselves in terms of IT security, and also they've looked at situations where things could go out of control, and they would need to do a lot of, could lead to a lot of financial damage for them, in terms of payment to customers and all of that. where they've started taking, $1 million covers from the insurance sector.
Okay. So even cyber risk management has this ability to impact various lines of risk coverage. You can have one thing is data leakage, and that leads to brand and reputation. So how does a risk manager sit with an insurance company and decide, what are the kind of risks that they need to cover under
Absolutely.
the cyber?
So I think it's more important, for each of the companies to do a risk audit, maybe with partners or maybe themselves, and then decide on the extent of vulnerability and look at it from the probability severity kind of model in terms of how probable are these events likely to occur, and if so, what's the kind of severity which they're exposed to. Based on that probability severity curve which they build on their risk, they would need to see whether they would be able to manage it themselves, or they would need to get kind of a risk transfer mechanism in place, which would be able to manage those kind of risks, or even domino effect of these kind of events where reputation and various other aspects are also affected once such an event occurs.
Okay, so Mrityunjay, I think a lot of companies just look at it as an IT risk and not the various kinds of risks that one IT attack, one cyber attack can lead to. So in your opinion, what would you say is needed for an organization to build a good cyber defense strategy?
So I think your first point, that a lot of companies think of it as an IT risk. I think fundamentally that needs to change. It needs to be a C-suite risk, or it needs to be high up at the CEO's agenda. It needs to be right there at the audit committee or the board of directors, which is looking at overall governance. So that's one part, because you start defining the tone at the top. Secondly, if you look at the cyber risk, I think our survey also talks about a fact that while 60% of the incidents result in financial loss, over 50% are actually related to data leakage or issues like corporate espionage, which are as critical, if not more, than the financial loss to a business. So really, this risk transcends all functions in an organization. And I think the combination of awareness, combination of having the right tools, a combination of looking at it separately apart from your IT infrastructure. I mean, frankly, a large portion of the companies spend less than 5% of their IT budgets in managing cybersecurity. So that a combination of putting in the right data leakage prevention tools, all of those in a combined manner will help companies brace up for this attack. But if you say what would be the number one or the most important element to put in the right cybersecurity or this right cyber crime prevention policies in place, in my view, it has to be awareness, and awareness right at the top of the organization to every employee that exists, because this changes every day. There are new attacks, new techniques every day, and all we can do is be aware of our surroundings and how to protect ourselves.
Okay, so Sanjay, what is your experience when you talk to companies? When they come to you, are they? I mean, how much are they ready to insure? What are the kind of risk that they are ready to take insurance for?
First and foremost, I think it's necessary to recognize cyber risk is a huge business risk.
Correct.
And it can be something which can it can be a huge balance sheet risk for you if you're not taking care of it. And that's what we keep telling all our customers. What they are not able to sometimes, delineate, and it starts with the C-suite employees also, that, in spite of all the thrust of the Companies Act and all of that, is that, there's a difference between, primary loss and consequential loss. A lot of the loss, in cyber is consequential. And that needs to be understood fairly well by each of the companies in terms of depending on the nature of the business. And they need to be fairly well prepared to be able to face the consequential loss. I'll give you a small example in terms of consequence. A lot of people insure their factories, but they don't buy business interruption cover. What's happening in Chennai is all about business interruption. The factories are locked out. The damage may not be substantial. So it's a bit similar in cyberspace. Sometimes the damage itself may not be, but the consequential losses are huge.
Correct.
And that's where I think they need to put in a lot of rigor and focus even at the top level to understand which are my businesses which are going to get affected, how much, for how long, and what's the kind of impact, not only from financial perspective or various other perspectives which can be insurable and some of them are not. So hence they need to look at it holistically in terms of risk and then see what parts need to be, it's better to basically hive it off, or transfer it to someone else. And the other parts which you can't transfer, you need to have a preventive plan around it, and then be, in a position to react, have a plan to react when something like that occurs. You have to also have a plan, B, for if an incident occurs, what are the kind of things you would need to do, who's going to take control, and what is the kind of the action which the company needs to take. All of that needs to be part of a strategy which is not just documented, but it needs to be discussed and kept on the agenda, the management's top management's agenda, on a, at least on a quarterly basis.
Would you say that today the police force, they know about what are the IT laws or the IT regulation, they know the kind of cyber crimes, they're able to manage or understand when a certain cyber crime is reported?
Well, obviously those, especially who are with the cyber police station and with the cyber cell and the cyber related investigation teams, they are aware of it. Not only that, we try and get them domain expertise from time to time to upgrade their knowledge and skills. It is actually heartening to see that many of our constabulary also now, given the fact that most of them are well educated, are also tech savvy. So that does make it easy. But having said that, I would say that we need to increase the numbers of these personnel, because the number of cases has been increasing and it will increase given the fact that the cyber world is going to be used more and more by larger sections of the society all across the city.
Okay, so the final thing is I would like to ask each of you, what are the maybe 3 important cyber crimes that you perhaps most organizations can really face?
I would say number 1 would be internal crime, which would mean that wherein the employees of an organization or people who are within the organization actually use cyber techniques or use various techniques to bypass authentication and authorization matrices within an organization to defraud it. I think that is something which is on the inside, and again that requires a certain level of awareness, analytics, tools, etc. to prevent it from happening. The second would be this entire piece on information. And I think there have been instances where we've seen certain nations, certain organizations involved in putting malware in organizations to take certain key information or formulae or the IP that an organization has created and taking that away for purposes. And this could extend to also when you're in a situation and you're bidding for a certain contract, in a competitive contract, preventing that information or that bid information from leaking out from your systems. So the loss of information is again going to be an issue, and this is both internal, external. And lastly, I think it's also going to be crime which is associated wherever we are having payments, and that's where the entire piece on external and internal combination to either defraud organizations through their payment channels, which could be both electronic and also vendor payments, and the phishing attacks or the man-in-the-middle attacks are actually oriented towards that. And I think those will continue to for some time till the time we expand the awareness in several of these organizations.
Okay, Sanjay, so what would you say are the 3 cyber attacks or cyber crimes that can really, you would advise companies that you need to really ensure in the beginning, and also, Keith, what impact can those have really?
Yeah, so if you look at it, we clearly classify risk into first party risk and third party risk. My sincere advice to all companies has always been that you need to make sure that you cover your third party liability risk. Okay. That's something which can be debilitating for you. Having said that, what I'm worried about currently is that organizations have a much higher responsibility to, in essence, manage this risk much better than even individuals. So if I'm, using a bank account, I can't manage the risk. For the bank to manage it much better, teach me, make me aware, and see all of that. And the one which hits us very strongly is the whole nexus sometimes between people who are internal and people who are external to gang up and cause harm to an organization. So for a public liability where a corporate, there is let's say, oleum leakage or something. So a lot of times the corporate themselves are escaped. It's not an outside act.
Okay.
But in cybercrime, it can be a combination tool which can actually bring down a firm.
Okay.
So that to us was very high. The kind of nexus between the ones who are outside and ones who are some of the ones who are inside are the ones who are used by the networks, which are strong networks which works across the world, to be able to go and cause harm. Of course they all follow the money trail. That's where money becomes very important. I would agree with that. That's one trail where you need to clearly identify the motive behind this. Other than just somebody putting malware, that could also be a threat. But a lot of the underlying motive is always the money, and that's something which we would always want corporates to be aware of. And necessarily, do all the kind of risk management, kind of activities around that, including prevention and all of that, and finally transfer wherever it's, it's important for you to, not keep it on your balance sheet.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Mrityunjay. And thank you, Mr. Amit, for joining us. Well, clearly, organizations need to build a strong risk management system in place. Well, on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for watching.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.